Hey man, oh, I'm so sorry to call you so early. I know it's 11:30 a.m. I just I'm so stressed out about this conference coming up that we have. I just want to see. Do you want to go for a drive and just talk? I just love to get some advice.
Dude, what's up?
Oh, dude, thank you so much. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks.
Dude, you know not to call me before 1 p.m.
I know, dude. I'm so sorry. I know. I'm just so stressed out about this
Why are
conference.
you stressed out? Why do we have to meet in a car also?
Well, I don't know. When I'm stressed, I just need to drive around and just kind of like get into it.
Don't you think conferences are sort of like 1980s? Like, I mean, I know that's your generation, but like, don't you think that like
70s
they're-
actually.
70s, sorry, but don't you think that like you know, why not just do a webinar or something?
It just doesn't seem as fun. CSM people, they like to get together. That's why we throw this event,
why you
right?
throw
And
the
so
event.
we'll have like,
Right.
I don't know, like 4,000 people there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, you trying to compete with my conference?
No, I'm going out. Come on, nothing can be with
I
Boxworks.
agree.
Is pretty
Okay,
awesome,
perfect.
right?
Thought that would be harder to negotiate, but
no,
okay.
I mean, and by the way, everyone's just going to be using Box the entire time.
Good.
Should we listen to some music? What do you think?
I have no problem with you listening to music right
Okay, all right. Well, I picked out some songs, so it'll be fun.
now. But, oh, cool, ABBA?
Hey, have you heard ABBA? It's
I'm
new.
a fan.
All right. I mean, I'm totally not into it, but like, we'll just like listen along, maybe.
I'm fine.
Is that fun? You can check your.
If you could turn it down though, maybe. I don't like ABBA this loud.
You can tweet a little bit if you want. Just talk. I just love to get some advice.
Dude, what's up?
Oh, dude, thank you so much. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks.
Dude, you know not to call me before 1 p.m.
I know, dude. I'm so sorry. I know. I'm just so stressed out about this
Why are
conference.
you stressed out? Why do we have to meet in a car also?
Well, I don't know. When I'm stressed, I just need to drive around and just kind of like get into it.
Don't you think conferences are sort of like 1980s? Like, I mean, I know that's your generation, but like, don't you think that like
70s
they're-
actually.
70s, sorry, but don't you think that like you know, why not just do a webinar or something?
It just doesn't seem as fun. CSM people, they like to get together. That's why we throw this event,
why you
right?
throw
And
the
so
event.
we'll have like,
Right.
I don't know, like 4,000 people there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, you trying to compete with my conference?
No, I'm going out. Come on, nothing can be with
I
Boxworks.
agree.
Is pretty
Okay,
awesome,
perfect.
right?
Thought that would be harder to negotiate, but
no,
okay.
I mean, and by the way, everyone's just going to be using Box the entire time.
Good.
Should we listen to some music? What do you think?
I have no problem with you listening to music right
Okay, all right. Well, I picked out some songs, so it'll be fun.
now. But, oh, cool, ABBA?
Hey, have you heard ABBA? It's
I'm
new.
a fan.
All right. I mean, I'm totally not into it, but like, we'll just like listen along, maybe.
I'm fine.
Is that fun? You can check your.
If you could turn it down though, maybe. I don't like ABBA this loud.
You can tweet a little bit if you want. Like, you can dance.
Why are you singing?
I saw you had some thoughts on Kanye. Like,
Yes.
I think we're thinking of inviting him to speak.
Good.
I don't
I
actually
think you
know
should totally.
How do
have
you
him do
get
it.
to it?
That will actually cover your whole conference. He usually does 6 to 8 hour tirades.
What do you think I should do? Just be like, hey, dude, can you speak at Pulse? You think he knows what it is?
Yeah. No, I've actually heard him talk about it.
Dancing Queen, feel the beat of the
This is actually, I think, one of the best trends for you guys is the world is moving. Every industry, every business is becoming a software-oriented business.
Yep.
So whether you're in retail, whether you're in hospitality, whether you're in transportation, whether
Rap
you're in
music.
life sciences, whether you're in rap music,
yeah.
everything is going to have software at the center of it.
Yeah.
And that's going to transform how all of these businesses and industries work.
Yeah.
And it's going to rewrite the future of the economy. So we're deep believers in the future of customer success because of how much the world is changing, where you're going to have that integrated relationship with your customer at all times.
That is awesome. That's really inspiring. I should work.
Restroom at lunch. If you're missing a ring, please check in with registration desk. We are big believers in trying to live green. We all have, I left mine somewhere, the plastic badges, thank you. Please turn them in as you leave. We'll recycle them or reuse them. As you exit, we'll have baskets out there again by the registration form. We had some great breakouts. I don't know about you, I tried to attend as many as I could. I was taking notes. Shirley from Safety Culture did a great job talking about designing her CS team. Saloni, she was on fire. I don't know if anybody got to go there. I really think she should have her own YouTube channel. It was pretty amazing. Andrew and Sam did an amazing job with their health score prediction stuff, and then Margaret Foley digging really deep, probably deeper than I've ever seen happen at any Pulse events on CS metrics. And those are the only ones that I got to see. So I'm sure there were plenty of others that you all got to experience. It was fantastic. One thing that we will be sending out is an email to you all. We are very keen on making every one of these events better than the next. We would really and sincerely appreciate your transparent, direct feedback. It's how we become better. We want to serve this community with sincerity, with excellence, and it's only going to come from the feedback that we get from you. We'll also be extending a discount code for you to attend, and we'd love for you to come to the States. Pulse 2019 USA will be happening in May, and I believe the discount's about $300 off. So with that said, we have 2 more sessions. I sound like a sales guy, right? Ryan, we're going to bring up Mr. Ryan Tobin, our VP of Corporate Sales and Aptrinsic Sales. He's going to be introducing our CEO panel, which is always exciting to have CEOs on stage. Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Thanks, guys, for sticking with us the rest of the day. We're close to cocktails. First, I'd like to invite up our CEO panel. So Rob from Service Rocket, if you could come join us, and Josh from Hugo, please join us on stage. We are going to, and I'll let them introduce themselves because they will be better at it than I will, and we're going to go through what they're seeing in the CS world, both in Australia as well as in the US. And I want to encourage everybody also to go on to Slido. We will be doing about half of our time here on official questions that we've set up, and then we would like to do a Q&A from the crowd. So I'd like to start. Josh, maybe introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you do and sort of your relationship to CS.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Josh, one of the co-founders of Hugo. We build a meeting note platform that provides a common place for teams to store and share meeting notes from conversations. And we get used by a lot of customer success teams to make it a lot easier for them to collaborate with the rest of the business around what's being said when they're having calls and conversations with customers, who else in the business needs to know about those conversations, and what do they need to do about the outcomes. So definitely my perspective, we have a business that's, we can get onto this later, our business is self-serve, so we actually don't have a customer success team ourselves. So my view is really on how we help our customers improve the way they work with the rest of the business to improve customer success overall.
Rob?
Hi. So Service Rocket started in Sydney in 2001, now headquartered in Palo Alto in California, and we have people around Chile, Malaysia, as well as the US and back here. So in 2001, we started the company by teaching training courses, and I was teaching courses for WebLogic and Web Methods and all these big J2EE Java companies. And we built off that a whole range of services and products that are in the customer software adoption area. So our view was always that software was like a Formula One car, the customer was the driver, and our job was to look at the track conditions, put the right tires on, do the right tuning and tweaking, driver education, and get out of the way. And we've been doing that for 17 years.
Very nice. So Josh, to your point around working with a lot of CS organizations, so if I understand correctly, you're helping the CS teams collaborate cross-functionally. And I'm interested in what you're seeing out there in terms of evolution of the teams that you're working with once they do get to work across the company, and also how that affects sort of leadership's perspective on the function.
Yeah, I think it makes sense probably to start with the problem that we're helping with our customer success teams in general. So we sell mainly into SMB to mid-market size companies, and even with those companies that we talk to, we find that they're managing between 60 and 100 different SaaS tools, which is a lot of different tools, and more than 90% of those tools are department specific. So you have someone in a team inside a company that has access to tools that maybe none of the other teams have access to, and that makes it really hard when it when you have like a cross-functional need, and when you need to bring in other people from the business into a workflow that involves a customer. It's really hard for anyone to have access to the full picture. Everyone's just looking through a keyhole. And so that's really where we come in. We allow that information to move across teams and be accessible to everyone without breaking the workflows of those individual tools themselves. So with teams that have really been set up on Hugo for a longer period of time, we've seen a lot of the processes change. I think that's the first thing. So we see customer success become more of a company-wide culture as information from conversations are getting socialized and shared with other people in the company. There's a broader respect and appreciation for what their role is and how it impacts other teams like product, marketing, support, even sometimes legal and finance, depending on how contracts work in your company. So that's the first thing. We see CS getting brought in sometimes even before a deal is closed, so that they're much more effective on the post-sale side of that workflow. And then the second thing, which I think is an awesome outcome, we see it less, but it's probably the best possible outcome, is shared KPIs between the key functional teams. So you start to see customer success have goals that they need to achieve with other departments because there's shared responsibility. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Are you seeing more involvement from the execs that those CS teams are working with because of it? Because of the cross-functional work that they're doing?
What do you mean by more involved? Which executives?
C-suite.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that if you look at the company, there's always going to be less executives than everyone else. And so a lot of our window is definitely the everyone else working better together. But over time, if we look at the departments that onboard onto the product, executives definitely come in once it becomes a whole of business process. Yeah.
Rob, you and I were talking. You were explaining to me how you started here, had CS here, then moved to the US. And would love to understand both internally as well as the companies that you're working with, what are some of the differences between customer success between ANZ and the United States?
So I've been to Pulse in different places. So when the videos are playing in the US, there's a lot of laughter and a lot of cheering, and here is a lot of intrigue. And everyone looking at them like, okay, is that a joke? Is it funny, right? Being very cautious. So see, I got them laughing, right? So I think in Australia, we like to cut ourselves down, right? And we like to put the customer first, put in a really good effort. And if we've achieved a great milestone, we want to hear it back from the customer. Whoops. And I think in working in the US market, sometimes things are the other way around, where it's culturally more acceptable and even wanted and needed for you to tell the customer what you're going to do before you do it. And that can be a really hard thing for us as Australians to get over, right? Because we don't want to say something if we can't prove it and we don't have the data behind it. And so there's that cycle, right? So understanding that and being aware of it, even talking about it, I feel uncomfortable, right? So it's that little bit of leaning in and putting it out there. So I think even the word customer success, it's like, you can't call it success. Have we been successful yet, right? There's that element of, I think, culturally being brought up here. That takes a little bit to get over.
So it's interesting. Even in the U.S., Gainsight is very much a rah-rah company, right? How do we grow? How do we build this community? And with that in mind, and then I guess the term that I learned today was tall poppy syndrome, and how when we think about, as a representative of Gainsight, building the customer success, helping build the customer success community here, like how would you give us advice on how to think about that?
Keep it real, right? Simple as that. So Nick Mader, the rap star, right? The rock star. So our office is in Palo Alto. Nick lives nearby. And if I'm working on the weekend, he's there with his kids at Starbucks and we'll chat. So what I love about our industry is it's very real. So Aaron Levy, I saw him last week at a local cafe just working on the weekend, just sitting in front of the cafe. So what I love about our industry is that even the personalities, we're all just nerds trying to do a good job. It's not Hollywood where everyone's trying to be seen. So just keeping it real with what's there is I think, really important. Being genuine, vulnerable. I know that Gainsight's really good at doing that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other thoughts on?
Yeah, I think something else, it might not be specific to the difference between CS in different regions, but I think something that definitely separates CS from a lot of other roles, a lot of departments within companies, is it can and should be extremely strategic. And what I mean by that is there are some roles that are the same from company to company, but customer success is very different from company to company because it actually has to leverage a unique part of your company's business model in order to, and customer success therefore looks different because different businesses have different business models. And that's something that is really interesting, an interesting learning for us as we get exposure to so many different teams using our tool. On the surface, yes, their LinkedIn profile has the same title, but everyone is doing so many different things, which is really interesting. So as an example, I shared this last night. Company Freshworks, which is has an SMB suite for engaging with your customers from CRM through to support. They know that they have a much higher retention rate for their customers that use third-party integrations. So they've now started to shift a lot of the way they sell their product and the way that they manage customer success to try and get their customers to integrate the rest of their software stack into the Freshworks suite because they know that they're much more sticky if they do that. And so customer success in that business looks very different to like the merchant CS team at Shopify. They make money off of the fees that their merchants are generating through sales. And so their customer success are more like business consultants because they need to help their merchants figure out how to make more money, which in turn increases revenue rather than getting their merchants to buy more products. And so CS from company to company is really different. I think that's a very interesting trend. Yeah.
So I think following down that path, you said you don't have customer success now, and obviously you have but you have a self-serve business, and we talked a little bit about what you're concerned about in terms of customer success and what the challenges might be for you, how you think about when customer success might be something for Hugo in the future, and if you comment on that.
Yeah, I think that we'll probably take that we'll take that from the inside out as well. So we definitely see that CS teams amongst some of the other use cases for our product are way more hungry for best practices and education, not just what are the features and functionality of the tool. And so a lot of the demand for us has been on how can we help teach the CS team on how to change their workflow with our product. And so that's something that we'll probably focus on. We've actually struggled a lot because we're self-serve, and maybe if you think to a self-serve tool that you've used, like maybe it's Dropbox or Slack, you don't have as a buyer this expectation that if I've just signed up for a product with a website and put in some credit card details, you don't have an expectation to ever speak to a human. And so as we've tried to further down the funnel, provide some of that higher touch support, it's actually really hard for us to get that initial phone call. No one wants to respond to one of our comms and actually agree to set aside even 30 minutes or 15 minutes to hop on a call with us. So we've been doing a bunch of stuff recently, which I shared with you. I think you're teeing me up for this story.
I'm trying.
So we've been trying a few interesting strategies to get that off the ground a little bit, or at least move it away from a zero. We noticed that within the user base of ours that are trialing the product, the customers that complain the most are actually the most likely to end up paying for our tool and growing their account size over time, versus the The customers that either compliment us or don't say anything, so they're not engaging in support channels, are way less likely to pay for our product. And so yeah, it hurts when someone's complaining about your product, especially as a founder, but now we've trained ourselves to see that as a positive signal. This person cares. And so now we've tried to reverse engineer that by making more people care about a negative experience. And so what we've done is the tool that our engineering team actually used to monitor errors in the product, we've created a bot behind the scenes that will get on the front foot. So if a customer experiences a bug in the product that we've logged, we will send an email to that customer saying, hey, we know you just had a bad experience. We're onto it. A ticket's being created. Someone's looking into it. I'll let you know when that issue is resolved. And the response rate for that email versus like our marketing emails is just through the roof. And so when someone replies to that saying, that's awesome, thanks so much for letting me know, we use that negative experience to then flip up into, hey, do you have 30 minutes for a phone call? I'd love to understand more about your business. And that's been a much more successful strategy for us. So using a negative experience to get on the phone with someone versus just a random email you receive on a Tuesday morning that you just delete or ignore straight away.
I think that's awesome. For us, it's focusing on the outcome which you want, which is obviously the interaction, and how you get there is less important, and figure it out. But there are many different paths to get there. Yeah. So Rob, can you walk us through, you have a very interesting story about where CS sits in your organization and the change and how that happened.
Yeah, we've made lots of mistakes. And I never pretend to have it all sorted. The market changes, customers change. I think we ran in one of our business groups, we ran a very segmented team structure, right? Marketing to sales, SDRs, selling, account executives, closing, thrown over the fence to the services team to try and work out what was sold to get it deployed, and then the customer success group. So there's a couple of lessons there. We've actually restructured all of that so that all of those groups report into the product. So we took a really hard look at, did we separate our team structures too early before there was adequate repeatability? And so we pulled all that under product, because the product needs to be successful. It needs to be in touch with the customers. Some kind of stories with this is, if a customer success person was telling the product or engineering team about a particular issue a customer had, and they told that to the product team, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, the product team just naturally goes deaf to that internal message. I kind of think of it like maybe my mom's telling me my bedroom's not clean or something. There's some dishes in the sink. Yeah, I got it. But there's a little bit of that, where when we're listening to the customer actually say it, it resonates a lot stronger, right? So that was one. The second one was also aligning our cycles. Our customer success team was meeting with customers more frequently than our product release roadmaps, the roadmap release was. So if you can imagine a customer success person talking to a customer saying, yes, that's coming, or I've heard you, I'm going to fix that, we're going to fix that, and it's out of sync with the product roadmap, then what's the point of meeting twice when nothing's going to happen, right? And so every time you have a customer interaction, you're increasing the expectation, right? You're increasing the pressure, and that builds up to the point where if the product team doesn't meet that, the gap of disappointment, right, is larger. And so big issue, right? So for us, we moved all that onto product, which initially was, we can't do this, we've got a product to build. Right, and it goes back to our number one company value, which is delight the customer. And we don't exist without our customer, right? And you can tell me how visionary we are, that we should be ignoring the customer and telling them what they want, but hey, we're not that revolutionary, right? It comes back to very simple interactions about The systems you build need to manage the trust and the integrity of the relationship with the customer. And the systems we had didn't do that, right? And so it falls back on me to fix that. So we moved that back to product, back to square one, and have been doing really good since then.
And what have you gotten from that? What have the results been?
So results-wise, a lot less frustration. I think we're engaging customers even from a product and engineering level, so they really understand the nuances of what happens, right? The difference between a good product and a great product is that little bit of nuance that, right, someone that can make a difference gets it, right? And takes that little bit of time to build the empathy with the customer.
And one thing that you mentioned when we were talking earlier that made sense to me or was interesting was just how you were executing on the roadmap and what was on the roadmap and the frequency of delivering on some of what was coming because of the changes in product or customer feedback.
Yeah, you can deliver less and meet more expectations and reduce a lot of stress. So what we've done is do that. Then we have a separate team which is working on innovative stuff that is isolated somewhat from that. So I think just simplifying it.
Awesome. Can we pull up the Slido to see what questions are out there? All right. First question. What is the one key element that you guys look for in a CSM?
For me, it's empathy.
All right. Let's see what we got. Josh, do you think you'd include CS earlier if you were to start again?
Yeah, that's. I think that's a maybe startup related question. It would be hard for us to invest in a process like that when you're not 100% sure that what you're building is what you're ultimately going to be selling. So that's probably would be our rationale. Also, something that is related to customer success, but also is how we think about other things like support. Is when you're in the early phases of building out a product. And there's a lot of change happening. It's very hard to keep completely revamping your support page, and from a CS standpoint, how people incentivize what they're trying to get customers to achieve, et cetera, et cetera. So it's definitely something that once you know, all right, this is repeatedly what we're going to be doubling down on, that's when I'd probably invest in a process like that.
And I'd add to that, because I work a lot in the SMB space in terms of startups and when to invest in CS. I think there's a couple of variables. The first being, is your CEO your first customer success person, which tends to be the case quite frequently, and also how complicated is adoption. The companies that we talk to that are on the smaller side or younger side that have more complicated adoption generally need CS earlier, or at least we would believe they need CS earlier because the value. People need to be guided sometimes through the initial value versus things that are self-serve, potentially not as early because the idea of self-serve is that it is just that.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. Like, the title doesn't mean anything. My co-founder and I joke, the only reason we needed our titles in the early days is so that someone on the sales team knew who to spam, who's the CEO and who handles other things. But yeah, at the beginning, we were doing everything that you guys do. We just didn't have the resources to have a dedicated person or team. So from that standpoint, it was also customer and sales development. We were learning, where the product was sticking, why was it sticking, what were people trying to solve with our product, where were we still frustrating them, and if we want to find more of them, how do we reduce the number of frustrations? And so which is exactly what you guys all start to do once that role becomes more mature in a company.
So Rob, what is the current sales rep to CSM ratio, and how's that evolving?
So in the keynote this morning that Dan was talking about kind of referrals and how people really check up on you, right, and what's happening. So from our point of view, we have we actually run the whole team together. So we're kind of one-to-one. And towards the back end of our sales cycle, customer success is involved, right? And product is involved. We moved away from letting our sales team modify proposals, and the product team has to modify any proposal. So we're selling something that we know we can deliver and that's consistent, so that you don't get, oh yeah, we'll just put this in and change it, and there's a gap between expectation and what we can deliver. But there's so much business from us that comes through a referral that the line is really blurred between customer success and account management and sales. A lot of our sales cycle is really pulling in reference customers. And that's the best sales tool that you can get, is really happy customers that are using your stuff and using it well and delivering value. So our go-to-market is a lot of awareness on the space rather than our product and features, and then we use our customers. So for us, it's actually a one-to-one. I know at the conference is going to love this, but I mean, working with customer success and customer-oriented people is a lot more enjoyable. I started my career across the road at Borland at Sussex Street on the support desk. And so there's this element of just wanting to please customers, and that's in our DNA. I get along much better from that point of view than like sales, just trying to hit targets for the sake of it. So we will actually not try and close the deal for the quarter if it's not the right deal on the right terms, right? And just always have the right mindset with that. So.
And just for reference, from a Gainsight perspective, I believe we're somewhere in the neighborhood of a 3-to-2 customer success versus sales, so more CS than there is sales reps within the company. I don't know when exactly that flipped, but at a certain point, customers are more than we have more customers than we're
probably flipped right after the end of quarter.
Yeah. And I imagine that ratio will continue to increase. Are we getting kicked off of Slido? Oh, we're done. All right. Well, it says 5 minutes.
Sick of us already.
All right, fair enough. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate it very much, and thanks for everybody for listening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.